Very glad to be here. Thank you for the invitation. I will talk a little bit about the certification, focusing on theory. Let's discuss a little bit about theory, and at the end I will give some examples from Brazil, from fruit production in Brazil, and how these fruits are reaching the European market. So the certification is very important for that. First of all, let me apologize for my English, which is not 100%, but I think that good works. I have these 4 sessions. Perhaps I will not have time to talk about all of them, but I will leave my notes here and you can profitable from them. Let's discuss, discuss about this differentiation between global and local markets. Maybe this differentiation doesn't exist because sometimes one local market could be transformed into a global market. Depends on this dynamic. In the other hand, sometimes depressed and productive areas could be inserted in global circuits. So we could not say that the type of product determines if it will participate in the global or local market. It's interesting to see that global markets need some commodization, some pattern of distribution. This commodization implies in social division, specialization of labor, some hierarchy of decisions, and basically comparative advantages. On the other hand, we have these local markets which have different kind of production. They need some absolute advantages that could be idiosyncrasies or territorial differentiation based on what the French call savoir-faire. This territorial differentiation is very, very important. But ironically, the liberalization of the markets all around the globe opens up some possibilities for these territories to introduce their products through the quality aspects. And the quality aspects are linked to one side, from the demand side, from the saturation of this demand, that ask for new products, ask for a segmentation of this demand. And the other side, the search for differentiation of products, the search to sell different kind of products to this saturated market. So let's see the role of regulation. Regulation starts with some conventions, and conventions are basically informal. They are informal constraints. And these norms could be enforcing by partners. But some market regulation needs a strong institution in order to regulate this market. And then we pass from informal to formal rules in order to regulate this market. And when we see poor and marginalized territories, we see that they have this informal regulation, and maybe some external support needs to put these regions into the market through the dynamic markets through a formal regulation. So when we talk about economy of quality economics is a session of economics, a new session of economics. It's based on institutional economics. We see that giving a concrete example on fresh products or fruits or vegetables that are entering in these opening markets, we see either problems of regarding the attributes of the products and risks. Attributes could be natural attributes or constructed attributes. The attribute is the image that a consumer has regarding one product. And that means subjective or objective qualities that we are discussing. We can create some attributes highlighting some characteristics of this product. Imagine for a European consumer, a supermarket consumer in Europe, they think that these exotic products could be a good choice, could be healthy, could be natural, and this is different from these industrialized products. This could be an attribute. On the other hand, we have the risks. Uncertainty leads to risks, and risks, we have perceived risks on this product. Maybe health risks, social risks, psychological risks, a different kind of risks that are involved in consumption of this product. The normal path is this conflict that all consumers have. That we call cognitive dissonance. And maybe this cognitive dissonance mess up with the image of this product. And then we have the alternative path, that is certification in order to register some attributes of the product. In the other hand, reducing risks through quality, through a brand, a supermarket brand, through something. That's turn the consumer and producers, the farmer, into reality. So, I'll skip this. When we talk about markets, let's stress that markets are not given. Markets are constructed. And we could construct this market, we can create this market in 4 ways, broadly speaking, in 4 ways. The first one could be the organization of clients. Maybe the clients, consumers, for instance, could organize themselves in order to establish the quality, in order to establish the way they want to consume this product. One good example is the Farm to School program in USA, where the parents and relatives organize themselves in order to say to farmers what they have to produce and how they have to supply the schools with healthy and natural foods. We have Europe Gap, for instance, is another type of organization from retailers in Europe. The second type is when the producers set a standard of production. For instance, the case of strawberries in France, they have a special strawberry, and then they succeed in show that this strawberry is different from the other strawberries. This is a kind of strategy that we call bottom-up, from farmers to consumers. The third type is the strategy top-down, when you have an organization, an institution that establishes patterns of consumption. The best example is the WFP, World Food Program, that purchase food from small farmers in 60 countries. They establish the type of food they want to buy in order to provide schools and donation with healthy and good programs. They have a program enabled P4P, Purchase for Progress, that purchase food from small farmers. And the fourth type is a mixed type. We could have this new type of construction, but having in mind that the market is not given. They prepare and introduce a new form of products, a new quality of products into the market. If we take this new phase of food system based on quality, we'll see that this variety based is very visible. We can see that in supermarkets. What struck me was in a US supermarket in California, when I saw 12 varieties of eggplant. How you call this? Aubergine or eggplants. Selling in supermarket. I didn't know that we have so many varieties of eggplant to sell in a supermarket. This is a different type of product that is commercialized by supermarkets. It's based on quality. So we can say that maybe agriculture is entered in a different form of production that we could call post-Fordist production, not based in production in amount and quantity, but in quality, because the market is saturated. Obviously, we are not talking about India or other countries which have a lot of people, poor people, and undernutrited people. We are talking about rich markets. So to sum up, we see that globalization, deregulation, and this food distress, the problems about food, contamination, everything, could transform the consumption habits and could introduce a new form of coordination, a new competition in agriculture. And in this new competition, supermarkets, retail, who is in the edge of the value chain, could determine the patterns, could determine the form of commercialization, because they know, they own the information, they control the fluxes. It's easy for them to do that. So the demand for quality is also a product differentiation strategy. So we don't need to produce any more food. Food is enough for our population. The problem is distribution of food. You see here another example of in Berkeley, supermarkets are delivering food with robots. This is a line of robots delivering food in home. So it's very sophisticated, and people look for this sophistication. When we talk about flexible production, the inventory is very important because the inventory is capital that is immobilized by capitalists. So they need to push this inventory to other sites. And here we have a kind of formula to understand what happened and how this could impact farmers. When we have in the left side some kind of products which the incidence of perishability is very high, when we have no information about demand, what could have in demand side, the inventory will be pushed to this farm, to this farmer. So if the season was not so good, if the supermarkets are not selling so well, they just push the losses to the farmers. On the other hand, if we have a long-term productive process, in some products in agriculture we have this situation, uncertainties in supply and so on, the inventory goes to the links downstream. So this is very important to have in mind in order to see that farmer could be in a line of big losses if they deal with this new system of commercialization. Let's talk a little bit about regulation, international regulations. This is historical, and we could see here that the international regulations started long time ago, during the 19th century, with the Codex Alimentarius Austríacos, which was a Hungarian, Austrian empire. And this codex was transformed into the Codex Alimentarius of FAO, which is in use until now. But the Codex Alimentarius of FAO is a general codex. We have some specific codex, some specific terms of quality that are issued by private organizations, private institutions, as the ISO 22000 that established ACCP form of control. The Eurogap that I mentioned before, that was issued by Euro Retailer Produce Working Group. It's a group from European supermarkets, and Global Gap. We have a different kind of certification. Ironically, we have, with this neoliberal situation, we have more private certifications controlling the trade, the international trade, and the private trade. We have also some specific quality systems, and the most famous is in France, the Appellation d'Origine Contrôlée, the AOC, that was defined in 1990 for wines, and then for other products as cheese and as Label Rouge, which is quality products, biological, organic, mountain, fermier, and other types of products. So in France, they succeed to prepare different codes under the pressure of these farmers or this farmers organization. We see that in France, almost 10% of agriculture products and 15 to 25% of producers are involved in these systems of specific quality. So let's see a case that we have studied in northeast of Brazil, the melon production in northeast of Brazil. We see here the case of Famosa. Famosa is an organization, a private organization that has 10 farms in northeast of Brazil. They gather 30,000 hectares of melon, not of melon, but their property has 30,000 hectares. And they produce a lot of melon for exportation, mostly for exportation. We have a different trading brands to introduce this product in Europe or in other countries. And we have different certifications. We have counted 136 audits per year that they receive from all these organizations, Eurogap, Global Gap, IBD, Imaflora, all these different certifications. That means almost every 2 days they have one team of certification and inspection and certification in their farms. That's very tough, very tough. It's not for small producers. Let me talk just 1 minute about this flexible production systems in Europe. So we can see that the certification is the counterpart of deregulation. When you have liberalization, you need certification in order to solve this cognitive dissonance that I presented before. So retail is considered more legitimate than state in some countries. People trust more in supermarket than in government certification. They trust in the brand of supermarket. That's why the own brand of supermarkets are so strong in some countries. I don't know in India. In my country, in Europe, they are very, very strong. So we see the disappearance of this small retailers. This we call the mom and pop stores. In France, for instance, which is the country of mom and pop stores, we have more than 70% of fruits and vegetables are sold in supermarkets. So supermarkets is gaining space, room, in order to sell products. When we see the system of purchase in France, of supermarkets in France, we see that is quite dual. They have a part of their supplies coming through contracts, and the other part, a small part, auctions that they do to adjust the consumer demand. So I'm quite finishing. Let's talk about this flexible production system to say that it's based in two important legs. One is the decommodization. So we are talking about a post-Fordist strategy in order to allow producers to appropriate of this quasi-income that we call. But mostly the producers do not appropriate from this quasi-income. The quasi-income goes to the distributor to trade, to middlemen, to other parts of the value chain. And the second leg is the variety regime, which implies in zero inventory, just-in-time production, originally and quality, and is based in this new information systems, ECR and EDI. The first one controls consumer, and the second one controls the barcode, controls the product. You see here in the pictures, some pictures that I took in Japan, where the fruits are sold in a kind of jewelry. They give fruits as a present in special occasions. And one mango, for instance, you see in the picture below, can be sold for $100. One mango. There's a special box, and you give that as a special gift. Because it's so exotic, so different. You see people selling in the picture, the first picture, melons and watermelons. We see these street vendors here selling melons by, I don't know how much costs, but this costs at least $50 US dollars to buy one kind of fruits like this. So to conclude, I could say that supermarkets and the high concentration of fruit sales to consumers. So more and more we have supermarkets, we have this new actor organizing the production, organizing contracts in order to get their supply of fruits. At the same time, this globalization and deregulation favors certification system. So the consequence that we are going to discuss tomorrow, I think, is certification is now a requirement for producers in different countries abroad to supply the rich countries. So this implies in labor flexibilization, this implies in high level of employment, leaving workers very and more vulnerable. Let's discuss the role of unions in this new environment, and standardization of processes and products. So it's a contradiction, because I started my talk saying that now we are discussing a differentiation of product, a new varieties, in search of new varieties of product. But now I can finish saying that it's another type of standardization of products, processes, and products. I think that is all. Thank you.